say that in the text, but people put that there for extra emphasis.
Right,
But
they
when you
inserted it
incorporate
themselves.
a whole demonstration,
right? You see what
to
I'm
a
saying,
language,
Sister Karima? And then people will basically run with that and say, no, it said Jesus. No, it didn't say Jesus. That's what they put there to give you some understanding, so to speak. But the word Jesus or Muhammad wasn't even mentioned there. And so and people really go to war over this and not even know, if they don't understand what interpolate means, they'll be doing this. Now, but if you do that with a whole book, you interpolate a whole meaning, then you can't say that that's exactly what them people said it was. Just like the source I showed y'all from Chicago University. You know, these are the meanings that we put in them. And so here you got a bunch of people in our era and time arguing about the opinion of other people without doing the research. You see, and that's why they keep having these conflicts and confrontation. You know, because they, instead of doing the research, let me go off of what this man here said. That's like me. I ain't gonna just go off of what my chairman said because he said it. You know, we don't do no personality worshiping in my circle. You feel me? Because we don't believe in worshiping gods outside of the self. So just because my chairman said it, even though I know he on point, I got to do my own research. And that'll keep me from being dependent upon his information. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody looking for a master teacher, but the master teacher inside you. That's all we saying.
Language. That's a problem. Because you were not there. And what we understand, if there was no alphabetical system that existed during that time, then you can't just create something out of thin air just because the Ptolemaic system was created and apply that to the ancient way. Because the Ptolemaic system that those letters were derived from by Champollion did not exist during the time of ancient Kemet. You know, you go back 3,500, BC, Ptolemy wasn't even in existence then. So if none of that existed, if the Greek language didn't exist, the Demotic language didn't exist during that time, because it came 650 BC, none of these things existed. How then can you come and try to use that language, especially when you talk about decipherment? Because in order to decipher a language that's considered dead, you have to do it with a living language. And Greek, which Champollion used for his decipherment, was not a living language. Still ain't a living language. It was a dead language.
That's a real key point too, family. How you gonna resurrect the language with a dead language? You can't resurrect the dead language with a dead language. That's like saying a dead man can resurrect the dead man. That's crazy. Now, you see what I'm saying, JJ?
Yeah, they made that. Come on, man. That don't make sense.
How can a dead language resurrect the dead language?
Wow.
You can't do it.
Because
you got to have a living language in order to bring a dead language back.
That's crazy.
You feel me? That's simple stuff, but I'm trying to make it as plain as possible so they get where I'm going, so they can't have no excuse to watch this.
Yeah, but you beating them up, and you beat them up too much in one second. I mean, get your frustration out. Go ahead, Kamis. Beat them. Yeah, man. Y'all hit that like, share, subscribe, man.
They talk about modern Greek.
Yeah,
right?
Go ahead, family.
They say modern Greek is not a dead language, right? But watch this.
Basically, what I'm going into, I'm finna show them how, if you go into the AI background, they say, no, modern Greek is not a dead language, right? But then they'll come back around, and then you have those who say it is a dead language. So the community divided over that concept. Some tell you it's dead, some tell you it ain't dead. You see what I'm saying? This is what we go through when we deal with the European language. You know what I mean? When we listen into their narrative or his story.
And they be contradicting themselves. Now they say ancient Greek is not considered a dead language by some. It has been spoken in some region of 3,000 years over time and still taught in some countries. You see what I'm saying? But they say here, in the other hand, it is the 5th dead language on the list, ancient Greek. You know what I mean? Ancient Greek is considered a dead language. You see? So
in one aspect, they saying it's dead. In another aspect, they saying it ain't. Confusion. So, you know, I always tell you, really, there ain't no such thing as Greek language anyway, because it's really Coptic. You know, you heard me say that many times, you see, but that's a whole nother measure.
You got different opinions on this right here. You know, I tell you that Greek don't exist. You see what I'm saying? You know, so
Commission, my fault. I had my mic on mute. I'm listening, but I'm charging my phone, man. The floor is yours, bro. But yeah,
in certain aspects, they'll tell you that it's dead, and some people say it ain't dead.
You said the Greek don't exist, right?
How?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, because it's really Coptic. You know what I mean? But they calling it Greek. You know, it's basically they was stealing the language. I'm gonna tell you when that came in. There was a time during what they call the Indo-European era. You ever heard somebody use the term Hermetic, JJ?
Yep.
Anytime they use the word Hermetic, this is basically dealing with a certain time period of the Indo-Europeans, where they pretty much remixed the Kemetic teaching and then brought it forth in a particular culture. For example, like the Romans, they Romanized some of the Kemetic teachings. The Jews, they Romanized what they call Hellenistic Jews.
Yeah.
A lot of their teachings have Egyptian teaching mixed in them. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So let me
go ahead.
What's the difference between an Indo-European and a Euro-Asian? Ain't they about the same shit?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
You want to remix and flip it around? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, just a different way of saying. You can say Anglo-Saxon if you want to.
Stop.
You know, but the thing is that it just goes to show that these different people was taken from Kemet and regurgitating it in their own way, so to speak.
Right.
Like they called it Romanization, Egyptianizing, you know, the Roman teachings. And you'll see it, like how your boy did. Remember I showed the pictures a while back where I showed how I told him to put the Pharaoh garb on his head looking crazy.
Yeah.
You know, that type of stuff.
Because you got all this information, Commission. Will you have a discussion with a guy that's saying that he got sources and references proving, you know, I'm gonna stay out of that way. The Euro-Asians is the first Kemetics. Can we? That's true. If you listen, brother, we'll give you a fair shot. But you got because he's winning in the chicken circuit. You know, the chicken circuit. You know, they voting for him, but he's staying in the safe spots. We need you to do these teachings, Yeshua, in front of people who studied this a lot. You know, instead of like you debating in front of like a newer audience, which is cool, and they amazed by your antics and that's cool. But bro, that shit ain't right.
But you remember I had to get on somebody a while back because they was out here trying to push that that scientific racism and the Hermetic hypotheses, and all that stuff right there, because that's what he coming from. This dude who you talking about, I can already tell by what you saying, by him talking about Eurasian, that let me know he following the European scholarship. I ain't even got to talk to him. I already know.
Yeah.
I can tell where he coming from because I done read that stuff. So I already know what he's saying. But who he calling Eurasian, he don't know that the Cushites was in that area before these so-called Eurasians that he talking about. You see what I'm saying? So that kills his whole argument right there before we even get started.
He's trying to use all these little haplo groups and all this shit he don't even understand, man.
Don't even understand, because if he did understand, he know that the majority, especially our people, come from the E1B1A or the L3. Which is actually
say that L3. I told
it's the L3, the E1B1A. In fact, Them was the one that came over before Columbus in 1453.
I said the L3.
Yeah, I'm already on top of it.
But you already on deck with me, man. You already on the
That's
deck.
why I'm saying he ain't gonna do nothing but get beat up playing with me with that stuff. Cause then I got my DNA test, and like I tell people, like the brother Shaka almost did a video. He was talking about coming out of Egypt into the West, and he was right. But you know, I've been teaching this on your channel for how long, Judah? Saying that we came out of the East and migrated to the West. You feel me? And then I talked about Atlantis and the rechat structure. You know, that they was trying to call pseudo. They don't know the people migrated out of East first, went into the West, and then migrated back into the East. And that's when Egypt was established. You see what I'm saying? As far as the Nile Valley culture, you know, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, man, I definitely sit down. Now watch this.
Now, let me do a plug real quick. Real quick. Yeah, we're coming soon. We got Chuck Morgan coming on. He's gonna be teaching about the Black Sumerians. That's what I'm gonna do a little interview with him. And I know that's gonna drag Kansu back out. Kansu, I know you're peeking. But Chuck Morgan is coming over here to do some teaching. And he said you better not get in the way. That's all I gotta say. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, sir. And like I say, I'm gonna jump through a lot of this stuff here, but I want to get to exactly the point that I'm making because I'm still dealing with the language, you know. But you have to unpack certain things to make it plain to our people,
and then use it. You see what I'm saying? And then say that it's not dead, and then you say it is dead. See, this is the problem with European information. It's always some what we call contradictions in there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Watch this.
Yeah, man, y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe, man. Anybody?
I'm gonna get past this here.
Yeah. Let me see. Look. If you got a problem with anything that this brother's up here teaching, y'all come over here to refute it. Don't do it on your little personal channel where ain't nobody gonna be able to test it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm finna get into this the Wajawu measure in a minute because I had to expose this brother, man. I had to get him. But I want to use this one example right here. Yeah. And y'all seen this on y'all platform a while back, Jay, when I dealt with the word mirror.
To raise again, and then we can say, all right, you got a point. But they can't do it. And me and Reggie had that conversation when we first talked. You know, and they run for me most of the time. So like I said, y'all seen how I was able to show.
So, you know, that's that word mirror I was showing y'all, you can actually trace it all the way back to Kemet. You know, the M and R. And it means like mayor of a city and all of that right there. So it's actually the word mayor, like a mayor over a town, a mayor over a city. And etymologically it'll trace back to the same thing. You know what I mean? So that's a word that actually go back. So this is where I get into it with the brother. I'm speaking this stuff on his channel.
You see, he's in trouble when you do that. So let me go ahead with land. Here you go. During the time of ancient Kemet, if they didn't come directly from ancient Kemet, they didn't even exist. And the Kemites went.
This is it right here. Y'all look at this. This brother asked Wujar a question.
Yeah.
About the alphabet.
Communicated.
And I wasn't on here this time.
Commissioner Asar.
I appreciate you coming through it.
Brother Asar.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was. He was on there.
He's so sarcastic.
That brother was speaking. That brother was speaking on here, and see, I had sat there. I sat there an hour and 45 minutes.
Not Asar M. It's another one, man. It's another one, bro.
No, you talking about Shaka Dudu or whatever they call it. Amdu, whatever his name is, Uncle Du or whatever. He from the UK, I think.
No,
he was on there.
I might get the wrong one, but he part of the Uncle Western team. They got the pseudo before the pseudo. What were they called? What were them guys called?
and Raw Squad.
Yeah, and then Team Osiris split. He the other one, that real sarcastic one, Asar something. And then he told I asked him a question. He referred me to the local college. I said, brother, you supposed to be know all the information about it. Why are you referring me to the college? So yeah,
but depending on
the
the
nose in there, you know, they read too much information. They think they're better than you, man. Don't even understand what they're reading. Go ahead.
Now watch this right here. I had sat on this panel for like an hour and 45 minutes. So they like, oh man, I didn't even know you were there. But what it was, he really didn't want me to come on this panel. You feel me? So he's like, I thought you was gone. I was still there. I was just listening. Because, you know, in our environment where I come from, we sit and listen to each other 2-3 hours, you know, and we discipline. We can do that. You know, in my circle, that's what we do. So I ain't have no problem sitting there.
Right.
But I wanted to bring this information out. So watch this. Watch what y'all will say. Right. Watch
then
what
they
y'all will say.
correspond to the Egyptian word. In most cases, the Egyptian word is the origin word. A lot of these other words in these other languages deal with more of the effect, but the Kemetic word deals with the cause in its root. That's a whole nother story. So yeah, you know, right here in Arabic and Hebrew, it's referring to the land and not the man. So that's all I want to say right now. And, you know, we can get into some other conversations later. You know,
all right.
I don't hold y'all.
No, I appreciate you coming through, and I'm gonna tell you, I apologize for having you wait so long because I actually forgot because the brother Shaka Ndugu was on here twice, and when I look at the side like that, I actually totally missed you even still being here. I thought you had dropped off, you know, so I apologize for that.
I had sat there for about an hour, so you know how we do it. We patient. You know, and like he even made a reference to that, saying, yeah, I'm going to start calling you the patient Commission. You know what I mean? So, you know, we had a pretty good conversation here because everything to his statement was in agreement. You know, he felt like that was agreement. But now this is where, you know, we got to get him at. And this is his own words here. Listen, watch this. I want y'all to hear this now.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, could you elaborate on the alphabet that was used?
They asking him this question, his audience, right? They asking him about the alphabet that was used and attached to the symbols and how it is attached to the symbol. Now, mind you, this is the brother that wrote a book attacking the elder Walter Williams. May he rise in power. You know, because Walter Williams had the same position I had. Only difference is, you know, I went a little further, so to speak, in pulling up the actual source material to back what both of us have been arguing about this so-called Medu Neter language. You see what I'm saying? So this is somebody random in his chat asking him a question about the Medu Neter. Watch this. Now, he claimed to be a teacher of it, but watch this now.
Used and how
I wasn't in this conversation. This is a conversation a few months ago with him and somebody else, and they asked him a question. Listen to him now.
Is an alphabet attached to symbols? Okay. The ancient Egyptians did not technically have an alphabet, but
y'all hear that now? The ancient Egyptians did not technically have an alphabet.
But
did you hear that? The ancient Egyptians did not technically have an alphabet, right? Listen to him now.
Call the monoliterals a pseudo alphabet.
Now he admitting that these monoliterals that were communicated and created by Champollion was a pseudo alphabet. See, this is what I'm getting on him about. Look.
And what that means is that because to us, an alphabet are single characters representing single sounds. Did
y'all just hear what y'all say that Champollion's alphabet was a pseudo alphabet? You know, I want to give honors to him for it, but he gonna contradict himself when me and him start communicating. This months before we actually talk. You know, see, when you get at me, I go to do my research and homework. Right. You see what I'm saying? And I see you live right here in the people's face. You admit it's a pseudo alphabet.
Hey, we bring you up on charges, Roger. That's right.
Yeah.
They got debate court now, man. The back chat.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
But see, I heard they had already exposed this brother for being some type of plagiarizer.
Yeah. Yeah,
see,
right.
Somebody told me.
See, you should say, Wuja, you ain't tell me about that.
See what I'm saying? But see, that's what they don't know. I'm gonna do the research. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Oh, it's finna get heated now, JJ. Why
in
did?
English, like the English alphabet A to Z.
Now remember what he said. Single characters represent single sounds, right? That's what alphabets are. Watch this.
And the monoliteral glyphs, and what that means are glyphs that represent a single consonant, hence the word mono meaning one, a single consonant representation.
And that single consonantal alphabet was created by Champollion. It never existed prior to that. There is no alphabet chart created by the ancient Egyptians that's on it. That's why I asked Reggie, and I had a conversation. I was asking all of them, because that killed the whole conversation. That's common sense argument, you know, without even have to show no sources. Since you say that the Metanetta has been deciphered according to that, then you need to produce a chart that the ancient Egyptians had. Why we say this? Because the Arabs have a chart for their alphabetical system. The Hebrews have a chart for their ancient system, even though they call it dead. The Greeks have a chart for their system. You see what I'm saying? But you mean to tell me there is no hieroglyphic alphabet chart that existed prior to the one that was created by Champollion? The one that he made up after his so-called decipherment that was based on Ptolemaic monuments that didn't even exist during the time of ancient Kemet? If I'm gonna say it like this: if the artifacts did not exist during the time of ancient Kemet, if they didn't come directly from ancient Kemet, they didn't even exist, and the Kemites went away, and then they considered their language dead, how are you gonna come up with Ptolemaic stuff that don't even got nothing to do with ancient Kemet and use that as a segment? That's common sense.
I mean, take the dagger knife out of me.
You should be able to discern with your own mind and see what I'm saying.
Doing them dirty on his own channel.
3500 BC, before the time of Christ, 5,000 years ago, 5,500 years ago. Yes, these signs and symbols that you see were in existence, but they were not an alphabet. All of these signs represented things. So there were words that these were referred to. Like we would call this a bird in our language. So there's a word that has to do with the word bird. These deal with what we call bilaterals, trilaterals, and what they call logograms, you know, ideograms, you know, and they got different forms that they use, determinatives. All of these represented people, places. They don't represent a letter in the alphabetical form. He admitted this right here, bro.
Right.
And that's where he missed it.
That's where he dropped the ball. Hey, hold on for a minute, Commissioner.
This is what he said. I didn't say this. Now. Watch this. This was
hold on real quick. See? Yeah, y'all done messed up. Me and Commissioner got back together. Y'all in some trouble. They didn't want to see this. It was inevitable. Commissioner, do your thing. He upgraded too. Y'all in some goddamn trouble. Let's go, Commissioner.
Months ago, he said.
There are glyphs for that, and they're 24 in number.
And 24 glyphs is the one that Champollion came up with in the 19th century. They even tell you that, the Europeans will tell you that the English alphabet did not even exist. Well, rather, they did not, they didn't know, people didn't know how to speak, basically, during the early 17th, 16th century. Everybody didn't know how to read and write. So that's how Champollion was able to come in, you know, a little bit after that, and then try to act like he done transliterated something, but he didn't see the information age and this internet coming up here and all this stuff, and us being able to go back and translate the French into the English and look at this stuff. See, he was able to get away with it until that. And then you got those who want to follow the narrative of the European, but Commission ain't going. Watch this.
Because all you talk to, some say 24, some say 25, because you have the double reed leaf. And then you have the alternates for the N. But they're 24, generally speaking. Okay, well, if you
24 that was chosen by Champollion. Watch this. We're gonna let you hear it again now.
Don't mind, could you elaborate on the alphabet that was used and how is an alphabet attached to symbols?
That's what somebody asked him. If he don't mind, could he elaborate on the alphabet that was used and how it's an alphabet that's attached to symbols? Somebody asked him that question.
Okay. The ancient Egyptians did not technically have an alphabet, but we call the monoliterals a pseudo alphabet.
See what I'm saying? You hear that right there? You hear that, JJ? They call it a pseudo alphabet. The ancient Egyptians didn't have an alphabet. I've been saying this for the longest now, but everybody want to say I'm crazy now. But this ain't just all I got him saying that. Wait till I let you hear Western academia say it, and the sources that I got to back what I was saying.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, how many times y'all done heard me teach on Champollion alphabet being a pseudo alphabet?
Oh,
He admitting it, right?
Hey, what'd you say they added like what 1,000 characters?
1,000 7,000 characters.
Oh,
The Ptolemaic was 7,000. Yeah, and I got the actual PDF with the ones they added. And a lot of them dang on glyphs that they got Egyptian chopping themselves in the head, doing all type of crazy stuff. Like, what in the hell? Where they come up with this stuff at?
Man,
it's crazy.
Hold on, community. Hey, Smash, you better come on here and explain yourself, man. We ain't going to invite on because he just one fish, bluefish. You hear me? Bujai, all you Asars out there. Hey, y'all in some trouble. Commissioner came back. Y'all thought y'all was going to jump him over there on Sinetta? Chris Harris, I know you peeking in the bushes, just waiting to do something. You ain't gonna come over here. Any of y'all that want
well,
smoke,
I want to say this right here too,
Jay.
You know, one thing about Saw, and he said it himself.
Yeah.
You know, he said all the time, he like commission, they scared of you. He done said that publicly and in the private. He said it on the last show. These dudes scared of you, man.
I was there.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Now one of them like Lord Abbott coming up in there.
Yeah,
I stole his information. What the heck? What are you talking about?
When the last time Lord Abbott taught a goddamn show?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
He always reminiscing. Lord
and he's a monkey brancher. He jumped from one organization to the other. What I look like following something like that?
Then he running for mayor.
And you wasn't even
I don't knock him for mayor though. I don't knock him for that.
Well, you know you wasn't no more than 10 and 15 years, so you ain't even been in this movement longer than me.
Right.
But you went and wrote a book on guesswork. Then listen to Ross Sadiel, let him mislead you, talking about the elders told me this, the elders told me that. But you can't prove what the elders told you. You see what I'm saying? So they got to stop this madness.
Now, would you have another discussion with Taharka Beck?
That's what this conversation is.
Commission?
Nah,
y'all ain't reached that point yet. Okay, well, I'm
I mean, he is what it is, you know. Okay. I know what he bought and none of that, and he know what time it is.
So it probably want to be civil. I hope one.
No, I addressed him and my son to Vape Coliseum.
Okay.
You know, I say I be that more. You gonna remember he was all cap, caught blabber lacking in his babble, ran down him. I was talking about Lord Abbott and him.
Lord Abbott, cut it out. Lord Blabber. I remember you called him. Hey, you called him Lord Blabber.
Yeah, I addressed him in the song the same way. You know what I mean? That's what I call him, Lord Blabber, and I call him Shake Way Hell.
The audience was dying laughing. All you see was laughing.
Yeah, Shake Way Hell. You know, because it was Shake Way L. Right. You know what I mean? But I'm only addressing the nonsense. You feel me? Because I don't be with the bull jive. But watch this
right now. Hold up, I'm gonna let you hear something else. I don't want nobody to say man wrong. I want you to hear what he said.
All right, go ahead.
I didn't say it, he said it. Now watch this. This is when I was on there with him the other night. Now this is months after he did that.
Right here. So this is what I had on the screen before.
Okay, look.
Now remember, he said that the alphabet was a pseudo alphabet. Remember that. Now this is when I get on there with it months later. Watch this.
And so you're saying that the first Abu is more ancient. Medu, Rani Kemet, Ray and Kemet. The last two are more recent, based on artificial transcription as it relates to Ptolemaic hieroglyphs. Okay.
Pay attention now. I said this The first Abu is more ancient, Medu-Ray and Kemet. Why? Because this is a thing referred to as Abu. We know this word come from hieratic. It didn't come from this picture. That's what it's called. So in normal writing, you'll see this sign and it'll have hieratic written beside, letting you know in hieratic what this is called. So this elephant is being referred to as Abu. This is the ancient way, is what I was telling them. The first Abu is more ancient, Medu-Ray and Kemet, meaning it's the ancient language of ancient Kemet. I say the last two are more recent based on artificial transcription as it relates to the Ptolemaic hieroglyphs. Because methodology of Champollion has used this. So now they're going to tell you this is Ab and this is W. AB, this is Ab and this is W, Abu. And then they put this as a determinative behind it to basically say what it already is up here. I'm saying this methodology based on this is coming from the Ptolemaic aspect, because that's your boy Champollion's methodology.
Now look at that. Hold up. You know.
So you see the difference between the two? And see, he gonna try to push back against me on this. Watch this. Even though he admitted,
blah blah blue.
Yeah. Even though he admitted that they were pseudo alphabets in the first place. Watch this. Even the one that
Go ahead.
You know, it has the Abu, and then they put it down here, and they got a man and a woman, the Remet, you know, and they call it Abu, and they call them elephant people. You see, so this is supposed to be a sign that represents elephant people, according to what they're saying. But I'm saying these two methodologies come from a later period, because the sign was recognized as what it was. It wasn't no alphabet or no letter, because this, see, it's three here. This is not monoliteral. Monoliteral deal with one letter. This is three. This is a trilateral or triliteral root here. You see, this would be considered a certain ligature. Like right now, I could put the hieratic alphabet up here and show you what these alphabets would be in hieratic. But these are not alphabets. You know, this is a thing, and it's referred to by word. And in ancient Kemet, there was no alphabet chart. That's why I told them the first Abu is more ancient Medu-Ray than Kemet, because you don't see it spelling it out. It's basically telling you that this is a thing. It's an actual thing. And they would say here, this is A, B, and W. You know, this is what they're trying to say. And then this would be, according to them, a determinative right here. And so he wanted to attest this and say, well, this existed during ancient Kemet because it was in the pyramid text of Unas. You know, when you go into the pyramid text that's supposed to be in that are on the wall, he's saying that this was attested there. Just because these symbols were on the wall in there don't mean that it mean what they saying it mean here.
Right.
That's Champollion's breakdown of that.
That's their master.
Means this. Whereas this elephant is an elephant already. It don't need no so-called pseudo transcription of an A, B, and a W here.
Right.
And this is also really, you know, you got to see where it come from. Does it come from the Ptolemies, or did it come from the ancient Egyptian? Because the Ptolemies added 7,000 different letters in the midst of the alphabet. So you hear him right here. Watch it.
So, Commission, I just want to say that that's not correct. The second one here goes all the way back to the pyramid text of Unas.
See,
so it's
he got to show us that.
It's because you see these pictures in the pyramid text don't mean that they mean what Champollion said they mean.
Right, because he added a couple of birds and a goddamn knife.
Methodology to those pictures. Of course, there were pictures that exist during 35,000, BC. It's a whole lot of pictures all over the place. But the Egyptian wasn't writing in this language and communicating in it.
Right.
These were all monuments. A lot of it was really decoration, and it's more didactic in nature, didactic art with metaphysical, metaphorical formulas, which goes beyond trying to put it in the box and making it a letter. You can't fool me with that. You can go with the theme that the Europeans say, because that's what they're going to do. Watch this.
attested all the way back in the pyramid text, and there's no way that anybody could say the pyramid texts were written during the Ptolemaic era of time at all.
Okay, so now he's refuting what was said, but he just said in the other clip that this was a pseudo, an artificial alphabet. The Egyptian didn't have an alphabet. So all I was doing is saying the same thing now, but here we go months later. He must have forgot what he said.
Yeah, he forgot.
You understand?
This chisel and quill are very old. They're not Ptolemaic glyphs. Ready to go. All right, right here.
So there we go. He in the
See, that's what they try to get away with, JJ.
Right.
They try to say the picture's been there 3,500 years ago, but Champollion methodology didn't exist during that time.
That's right.
Champollion methodology came into existence in the 19th century. The ancient Egyptians weren't working with Champollion's alphabet chart.
And then
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then look, you got 3 pseudos on the goddamn stage. Look at this.
Yeah, he was trying to go at basically, he was pulling his commentary up, going against what they were saying.
Oh,
You know,
he
he was calling himself addressing them. You see what I'm saying?
Was he beating them up, or was
Nah.
he?
It's the
No,
last
he
one
wasn't
from
beating
him.
them up.
I'm gonna show y'all another one in a minute.
Watch this. Watch this, JJ. You finna trip on this.
See, we got to call these people
white guy like that. Godfrey, don't gotta be ashamed of yourself. Go ahead.
It's the last one right here.
Yeah, take your time, bro. Do what you gotta do.
Oh, that's just the video talking. But watch.
Okay, here you go. You said, I'm saying the Ptolemaic methodology is faulty to apply to ancient science, as Champollion methodology would only apply to Ptolemaic glyphs.
See, that was me talking in the audience. I say, I'm saying Ptolemaic methodology is faulty to apply to the ancient science, as Champollion's methodology would apply only to the Ptolemaic glyphs, not the ancient Egyptians.
Right.
They'll be like, what the hell y'all talking about? We ain't never heard of such a,
Hey,
probably run them out of
hold up, Kamisi, you gotta tell the story, bro. Hold up. When Jabari took the people on the tour, did he take them to a black African shrine, a tomb, or where was he at?
Well, yeah, he took them to places that was actually what we call it, re-renovated. You know what I mean? They wasn't the original place. But there are places that are original that's still standing. So if you're gonna take the people to Kemet on a tour, take them to Luxor. You know, take them to Abu Simbel, places like that. You know, not them places they don't want to rebuild.
Spots, didn't he? Is that what you said?
Yeah, he took them to the Ptolemaic areas. Timbuktu is one of them. Man. You know, and so we got to be careful with that, because if we're gonna say we pro Kemet, with all due respect to my brother, you got to take them to Kemetic places, not the places that they pillaged, like Dendra, for example. Dendra ain't what it originally was. You know what I mean? So you know, if you do take them there, at least tell them where this place was pillaged, and it's a different temple sitting on top of the Egyptian temple. Do that at least.
He had that point to the wall, can't read nothing on it.
Man, how can you read some with a methodology that didn't come from the ancestors? If you're reading it according to Champollion methodology, you're reading it wrong.
I know he's a brother though, but come on.
But you know, but you see, and I don't blame, because you know, Jabari was humble enough. Remember when we had that conversation with him to tell you, I don't read Metal Netter. My wife is the one that does it. Yeah. But I went and that's why since then I never went at the brother. You feel me? And because he showed me he honest. He showed me he an honest brother.
But another line did a guy that came up out of that Tahuti.
He's a dishonest brother. Very disingenuous.
Which one?
And Jabari and them beat him up.
Oh, hey, wait a minute now. Tahuti won the audience vote on that one. So Tahuti?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, as far as he was messy on the hieratic, he was trying to do hieratic and he was doing it wrong. Because he was trying to compare it. And I was looking at it because, you know, I deal with hieratic.
Right.
So, you know, he was making it look kind of ugly over there. You know, and he got off on that because nobody really know hieratic, so they couldn't see it. You feel me? But I seen the flaw in that right there. But you know, it ain't no big deal.
You know what, y'all? Hey, Commissioner, though, man, we had some battles in that back channel. We had me, you, Tahuti,
Yeah.
Mudawa, Kansu, the Nagas. Goddamn,
Yeah.
I mean, man, we were so goddamn deep back there, man. That's why we skilled out here now. They don't even know, man. These newer debaters
all
don't
is
even
well.
battlegrounds. Show. Go ahead.
Yeah, all is well.
Yep.
Watch this right here.
I say, I'm saying Ptolemaic methodology is faulty to apply to the ancient signs, as Champoleon's methodology would only apply to Ptolemaic glyphs. You see what I'm saying? This is where they messing up at. You can apply that to, Ptolemaic stuff because that's what Champollion did. But Champollion's methodology is not a foolproof methodology, and it will be faulty to try to, because remember, he said it himself. The ancient Egyptians didn't have an alphabet.
Yep.
You see?
He said it would only apply to Ptolemaic glyphs. No, that's definitely not true.
He's saying it ain't true, but he can't prove it ain't true. And if I ask him, which if I ever get a chance and we have a conversation, I want to see that alphabet chart, that ancestor have, because that's the only way you can prove to me that that methodology applies to ancient Kemet.
Right. They're not going to be able to do it.
Right. Exactly. I want to see the alphabet chart that come from the ancient Egyptians, because they should have one. Because every nation, the Phoenicians had one, the Ugaritic people had one. There was one in India. All these people have alphabet charts. So you got to show me an alphabet chart that was put in picture form by the ancient Egyptians. And you can't do it.
Father, you talking about the video? Wait a minute. Pause.
You know what I mean? Even
he said,
what
you gotta show me an alphabet that was put in picture.
You got to show it.
That's ridiculous.
And that you see how that and on one video,
that question, brother, that is ridiculous.
Say it ain't no alphabet chart. And he was right. He was right. He said it ain't no alphabet chart. Reggie ran off the platform when I asked him for the alphabet chart. Took off. Just like Cap took off when I put that Yahweh demonstration up there.
Commissioner Red.
He said, I ain't got to go somewhere.
I forgot. He read Desire got to the Reliance did. He sure did.
Yeah. Watch this, JD.
Watch the Hieroglyphics, the Cushite. They call that also pseudo hieroglyphs. But they don't want to go.
Now check this out. Scholars call, the Hebrew alphabet that come from Egypt. JJ.
Come on, man.
You know the Hebrew.
I still ain't got on that question. Show me an alphabet that was put in picture.
Yeah, show it to me. They can't do it. I told them, I said, I'll give y'all 3 years and I bet you won't find it. And that's when Unc said, it ain't no alphabet chart. And I was like, thank you. You the only one got sense enough to admit it. You feel me? But the rest of them bucket. You know what I mean? So the Hebrew alphabet that was created off pictures, it's older than Champollion's alphabet. Because it go back to I want to say 15 or 1800 BC. Right? The one that the Hebrews got, the Proto-Canaanite. Their alphabet of pictures is older than Champollion's, and they don't mean the same thing. So if Champollion was right, then why his symbols don't mean the same thing the Hebrew symbols mean? Why his pictures is totally different? Why the arm means something different? Somebody got to be right and somebody got to be wrong. But they can't both be right. You feel me?
Hey, this whole show been funny from James to say.
Yeah, I mean, we making it plain, but it is funny. It is funny for somebody to think that they can pull one over on us. They think we crazy or ignorant enough to accept that nonsense. So if the scholars are calling the Hebrew alphabet that's older than Champollion's alphabet, if they call that a pseudo alphabet, if they call the Meroitic, which come out of Nubia, that was created by the Egyptians, they call that a pseudo alphabet that existed before Champollion. Then how in the world you gonna say that Champollion alphabet ain't pseudo?
Oh, so they
but
said the how you pronounce it, the marinade? That's that they said the Meroitic. That hasn't been deciphered.
That's what I'm telling you. They said, and I do got the method of deciphering. I know how to do it. Okay. It's a certain key to it. Yeah. But that's what they're saying. It can't be deciphered. But the thing is about it, if they calling them pseudo, then why Champollion alphabet and call them
Right.
Egyptian?
Yeah.
Huh? That's how Rome always do it. That's just like they'll shoot our brother down and then let a dog live.
Hey, what was Garfield
You feel me?
saying? Nothing. He's just looking dumb.
Well, I didn't even really see him going all the way into everything on there. I just pulled out certain aspects of what he was saying.
Yeah, but what
You know
was
what I
Garfield
mean?
doing? Well, he didn't know what to do, did he? He's just
Well,
shaking.
yeah, they were just going back and forth on what they were going back and forth on.
Ah, okay.
You know, I was just catching what y'all out here in this lie saying
Got him in it.
it's pseudo alphabet. Now he over here trying to say that it is a real alphabet. It existed in the pyramid of Anaz, the the pyramid of Unaeus, I meant to say.
And you just
Like,
showed
make
both
up your
clips,
mind,
right?
bro.
You showed
Yeah, that's both clips. That's both clips.
Right.
Look at that. Watch
I want
this.
to call Champollion
Look at this guy.
he just did it. I got plenty of sources saying it. It's an artificial alphabet.
Definitely. That's definitely not true.
So he in denial. All he can say is
Cognitive dissonance. You can hear that's definitely not true. You can tell he thinking.
That's pseudo.
You
Yeah.
can tell he thinking now. But he didn't even have confidence when he said it wasn't true.
that's definitely not true.
No, it didn't.
Prove it then. If you see this video with Jawu, prove that what I'm saying ain't the truth. Because you're going to have to produce the burden of proof. I can show you what the ancient alphabet chart is, and it ain't no picture. And I'm going to do that in a minute.
It's hieratic.
I'm going to
That's
show
the
you what the ancient
Egyptian
alphabet and the
chart.
oldest attested source that relates to that.
And I just showed y'all in the beginning. Remember I showed you the hieratic primer?
Look at me.
Remember I showed it when we first came on? 3,500 years old. That's 500.
Yeah, you showed it.
Yeah.
And then they try to copy it. Look, curious, did they try to put some little pictures and mimic it? Yeah. Had to do yeah, come on, bro.
Yeah.
We didn't catch it.
I got the draft that Champollion had when he was trying to choose which one of them he was gonna use. I'm gonna show that in here.
Now look at that.
It's just not true.
All he can say is
You heard him,
just
JJ? It's just not true. Hey, you sound like he beat up in a corner somewhere.
Sound like he just.
But you don't hear no confidence in it, do you?
Right. Play that little.
You don't hear
play
no
that little voice again. Play the little voice again. Hey,
It's just not true.
Now, look.
You can tell it like I done caught him in the cookie.
you're
jar.
going to have to produce the burden of proof. I can show you what the ancient alphabet chart is, and it ain't no picture. And I'm going to do that in a minute. I'm going to show you what the ancient alphabet and the oldest attested source that relates to that.
It's just not true.
All he can say is just not true. See, this is a prime example of cognitive dissonance. You know, you faced with the truth, but you don't want to accept the truth, even though it's right there staring you in your face. Because you have accepted the European concept, of what they say is the truth.
As I said, in the pyramid text, I can show you that word and arrangement like how I had it on the screen. And it's talking about...
he ain't even been in the pyramid text. To be there to show you, he's showing you what the Europeans said.
What I said it was talking about. It's talking about a place.
He just sounded.
You see how he's stumbling?
Come on, man.
You hear it, right?
For his brother.
He wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready.
Like Kevin Hart said.
I would have to say, bro, you know, I'm going to get back with you. You kind of
Elephant
got me tonight, but I still don't think you're right. I would have to do something. He just sounded like he did, like, man.
And that's an elephantine because of the word elephant. You know what I mean? So a lot of them would tell you, like if they was reading this here, they would say, well, this is Abka, so to speak. And they'll go and read all these different measures, jet, and, this means to walk, and all types of stuff they'll say, coming forth or coming out.
Yeah, see all that stuff up there right on the screen. They'll be talking about, well, that is wet nebby. Like I told you, I can do that trash. I can do it too. But when I tell you I don't do it, I don't do it. So don't ask me to read that foolishness.
Because
I ain't finna act like I'm reading.
Right.
That's Champollion methodology. So don't ask me to read it. You feel me?
Yeah.
Of course, commission, I can read it, but and I can sign it out and tell you what it means.
Yeah, how you
but
gonna know what
at the end of the day, That ain't what it means according to the ancestors. That's what I'm trying to get them to understand.
Right, man.
Well,
That's what I was getting ready to say.
all that is when they try to do this
Wrong
stuff.
one. Wrong
That's
symbols.
temporary methodology. I
Right.
don't agree with it, nor do I believe in it. You understand? I understand these symbols to be metaphorical and allegorical. And I got proof in ancient sources that exist prior to Champollion by Egyptian priests that say the same thing that I'm saying. So let's get into this elephantine thing. But before we get into this elephantine thing that he's saying, he said it elephantine. We're going to go into elephantine in a minute. But before we do it, we want to go back here one more time. I want you to hear what he said. Now listen to it.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, could you elaborate on the alphabet that was used and how